I'm from Alibaba database team. My name is Wang. I'm very honored to share with you about a case. So it can be done within 5 minutes. Next, why do I need to make backup, and what is the meaning of that? After understand about its meaning, I can find what are the solutions available to achieve my goal. After that, I would choose based on this solution, and we can have the DBS. After I understand about DBS, I'm going to have some demonstration. I think that you might have some doubt. My database can already support the operation of the business and support the development for the next 1 to 2 years. I've been running the database for a long time. Why do I have to do the backup? I think after you see this slide, your answer will become yes. So, market survey company and for 400 enterprises in Asia Pacific, and they have made some survey about the impact of the interruption of their business. And from this slide, we can see for among the 400 enterprises within 1 year, 34% of the enterprises has an interruption of their services. That means I would have some economic losses due to the interruption of the services. So among the 400 enterprises, 72% of the enterprises after the interruption of the services, they lost about 1 hour or more than 1 hour's data. The possibility is very high. So what are the reasons that have caused the interruption of the services? There are two types. One is the machine room level, like electricity breakdown or hardware or software problem. And the data is from 2016. And then we can look at 2017 and what has happened. And in 2017, Minsheng Bank has break down their services for over 20 hours. And in 2017, and GitHub has stopped their services for 24 hours. They lost data of 6 hours. And recently, on Baidu, I found out a very interesting thing. By Circle database, after seeing this, you would think that the disaster and failure would occur very often. What do we need to do? I think in your mind, you would say that we need to have disaster preparation. And for disaster preparation, how are we going to do that? And for disaster preparation, no matter internationally or domestically, long time ago, there have been some studies of theories, and so there are some classification of the disaster preparation. There are 7 levels. There are 3 types of areas, and when disaster occurs, we need to calculate by days for the recovery time. And based the time point, we need to have the data backup, and we turn it into an electronic link, and RPO and RTO can be controlled within our level. And when we go up, time-based backup is no longer suitable for disaster preparation. So we use mirror or remote application technology in order to achieve minute level of RPO and RTO. And the highest level is level 7. At level 7, the disaster preparation capability not only need to ensure no loss of the data, we also need to ensure the business can switch during disaster. And luckily, there are 2 services can already provide such a capability of disaster preparation. And at the upper one is the DTS. Later, my colleague will elaborate for you. The next one is what I'm going to introduce today. That is the database backup, DBS. So let's look at this. Since I'm doing backup, what kind of solutions should I have? In this slide, it's a conventional solution. And the production center's data needs to upload it to the backup data server and then store to the storage media. It can be tape or disk or CD-ROM medium. And through some transfer method, we can transfer the storage medium to the storage area so that we can have off-site disaster preparation. So what I've introduced is can be electronic link, or we can have a transportation method, like we can send a courier through Cainiao. Actually, we had a problem there. Although it can achieve an off-site disaster preparation requirements, but we feel the cost will be high. Where are the costs coming from? First, we need to establish the backup cluster. Second, I need to have the cost for the storage area of the storage medium. And also the efficiency is very low for this method. Another thing is, because I need to fix things within 5 minutes, and from scratch, if I'm going to build this and backup cluster, etc., it's difficult to do that. Let's look at another plan. Cloud computing is launched a few years ago. Now it's booming industry. It can really benefit a lot of enterprises and meet their demands for IT infrastructure. So our backup, can we do that based on the cloud? The answer is of course yes. And the user data in this situation is still in the user's production center, but in the infrastructure of the cloud computing, we will copy the backup service node, and from the production center, the data will be transferred to the cloud server and stored on the infrastructure of the cloud service. So I use an Ali Cloud infrastructure. So the backup is on the Ali Cloud, and I use OSS of Ali Cloud for data storage. And I've already done the backup. When I want to recover the data, I have 2 choices. The first one is I can get the data from OSS and send it to the production center. That's okay. But if there's some problem with the production center, it has been disassembled, then through internet, I can recover to the cloud infrastructure directly. The best characteristic of that is that we can provide a very convenient service capability, and we can also achieve on-demand buy, and the backup efficiency will be higher than before. I think this plan is very reliable. And for DMS, At the bottom, we have our strengths to support two types of data. The first one is big data, like HDFS or Hive. The second one is database. For database, we support diversified categories, like we support conventional Circle, Oracle, PG database. We also non-Circle database, like KB-based Redis. At the surface, after we support different kinds of data, and we provide three basic services. First, for these data, we can have complete data backup. Second, we can have continuous incremental backup. Third, based on the backup data, we can have project recovery. Based on these three capabilities, upwards, we can restore anytime, and we can ensure the RPO is within second level. And because of the Ali Cloud's infrastructure capability, we can provide data extraction, and compression, transfer. Now I think you have some basic idea about data backup business service, and it can do data backup business service, and it can achieve minute level recovery. Now let's look at the structure of backup service. And for the backup service, it runs on the EDS server on the Ali Cloud. There are two blocks. One is the backup module and recovery module. And it will need the database to have online communication. And we support different kinds of networks, including public network, internet. And for the backup process, the backup module will get the user's data and store them on the user's OSS, user's own OSS. During recovery, the recovery module will get the backup data from user's OS and restore them to the user's database. There are pre-check and structural full backup and incremental backup. Now let's look at our backup process. When the user decides to back up the data, we can have a pre-check. We are doing mainly two things. The first thing, we need to ensure whether it's suitable for backup. Second, we need to know about the writing target, whether the OSS can be written on. And then I will start with the backup. First, I will have the structural backup. First of all, we will have the SQL definition, but we do not store that on the OS directly. We're just doing some conversion into the intermediate format. After we have done the structural backup, and we will have complete backup. The unique thing here is that we use parallel method to reduce the windows of backup. And then we will start with the incremental backup. From the original database and log, and we can have some additional writing and write it over the OSS. After we have done all these things, we will complete the backup of the whole database. Now let's see. Now let's look at the recovery process. We can understand it as the reverse process of the backup process. We need to pay attention that during backup, the structural backup, it can be done within one process, but in recovery process, it is divided into two. And between two processes, we will have complete backup. It's because the complete backup is also run in parallel. And the result is that, and for structural backup too, we also need to consider about the external information, otherwise it will fail.
And I'd like to stress that the data read by OSS is a record. So I have transferred the record into the circle in a targeted database. This is recovery method. And through this process, in the future, we could provide this heterogeneous recovery capacity. For example, I'm backing up Oracle data. So in recovery, we could recover it onto the IDS or circle on the cloud. So we've mentioned that the data is stored on the OSS of the company. And you may concern that why do you use DMS in a database, and would you steal my data and information? The answer is no. So how can we avoid that? Because we base on the infrastructure of AliCloud, and we're using the RAM service role-play mechanism of AliCloud. So if you want to use the DMS of database, and then the user needs to authorize the EMS to make some practice on behalf of the users. So after we are authorized by the company, then we will apply for the RAM service from AliCloud to play a role. So through the AliCloud mechanism, we will provide an interim AK with a valid period of 1 hour. So with this interim AK, you could pretend yourself as the clients, and then on behalf of the clients, you can have access to the data. And this is the process. We could have access to the key data of the clients. And the database backup services, while you are storing the backup data, we would establish another bucket which is dedicated for the storage. And we will not write or read from the existing bucket of the users. So let's take a look at encryption. And for encryption, I think one of the most important things is the management of encryption keys. And in this regard, we also rely on the KMS of the infrastructure on the cloud services in Ali. And this is a key management service, and it can help us to encrypt the keys of the clients. And in this process, we will not store any key for data encryption from the users. Database backup service will have several important features. The first one is that we will support a lot of users at the basic level. The second feature is that we could provide the second level RPO and the recovery at any time point. The third feature is that we are based on the infrastructure construction of the AliCloud services, and we will integrate the AliCloud services to provide functions for the clients. So I'd like to introduce you how we can realize the recovery of data at any time. On the left-hand side, you could see the database operations of the clients. And when we have initiated the backup task, then we will have a periodic full amount recovery, but the increment recovery is consistent. So based on those consistent backup, you could input any time point after the total amount had been recovered or backupped. So before any time point you have dedicated, you could recover this total version, and then very quickly we would run the increment recovery until a certain time point. And by doing so, we could realize the function of recovery at any time. And in this consistent increment recovery or backup process, we would have a lot of block technologies to guarantee the synchronized backup of the increment, and the maximum time would be 1 second. Up to now, I believe that you have an initial understanding of DMS for database backup, and you must already have an initial understanding of this architect. So let's go back to the first question. Can we use DMS to backup a local database to the cloud within 5 minutes? Actually, the procedure is extremely simple. The first step is that you need a backup source. So you need to know the address of the database and some of the verification information. And the second step is to tell the system what is the destination for the backup, where you want to backup the database. And afterwards, you would check how many databases are there for the clients. And we have multiple databases, but maybe the clients only want to backup 1 to 2 out of them. So you need to select out the database you want to backup. The third step is to have a life cycle of the data, and this life cycle is decided based on the Aliyun OSS. And why do we need to do that? Because this can minimize the storage cost of the client. Once a data is backed up, then we would first use it into a frequently used database, and then we would transfer it into a low frequency storage, and then in each level of the storage space, the cost for storage is different. So after you have set up the life cycle of the database, we will provide the pre-check. So we will check whether the target end could be writable, and if it has been confirmed, we could complete this backing up process. So this is my presentation. Thank you very much.